Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I hate using cliches, but I think the one about justice delayed being justice denied is very apt in this, because even though considerable progress has been made in the recent past, there are many women who have been denied justice. And just a very human case brought to my attention, 79-year-old lady in serious deteriorating health who is waiting on that payment. And that payment in the final years and months of her life would give her financial independence. Her case was advocated back in 2009. I know it's only one, but it's one that I know about. As you know, there are hundreds like hers. Okay, you've the applications in, it's going to have to go to the Cabinet. When is it going to go to the Government? How long will it take them to make the decision? And then after that, it's going to be maybe 2 months.
Come on, Deputy Daly.
Yeah, briefly, Ceann. I mean, I think the attitude of the religious congregations is absolutely scandalous, and I wonder, could the Minister say whether he's looked at any legislative proposals that he could bring forward to, if you like, compel funding from those organisations, and what consideration is he given to that?
Deputy Wallace, briefly.
Yes, well, I was about to make the same point, Minister. If they're not prepared to give the money willingly, I think the state should certainly be looking at ways of taking it from them. And with regard to the people, the survivors waiting on money, an awful lot of these people just don't have much more time, and a lot of them are not financially independent, and it would bring an awful lot of dignity to them if they could manage to have some financial independence in their last days.
Thank you, Minister.
Time is of the essence.
If I could say to all of the deputies, the government dealt with this matter in as speedy a way as was possible. The committee under the chairmanship of former Senator Magadelene was established in July 2011. They did very substantial work. They published a very detailed report. Within a short period of them republishing that report, it was published. It was debated in this House. Judge Quirke was appointed to look at the making of an ex gratia compensation scheme and of making other provisions for the women who were in the laundries. On the 25th of June 2013, the government approved the implementation of Judge Quirke's proposals in relation to the cash lump sum. There were other recommendations, including the one mentioned with regard to medical cards, which had to be furnished to this group, from whom I expect to receive the report at the end of this week, with regard to detailing the steps needed to be taken to implement those provisions. For example, I think it's inevitable that the medical card provision will require legislation, which will then introduce as rapidly as possible. There's legal steps that must be taken to copper fasten what we do in this context. The context of Deputy O'Sullivan's comment, I share her outrage that this issue wasn't addressed many years ago. This issue should have been addressed many years ago. I was one of the members of this House who had expressed the view that it should have been addressed well before I became a minister. But we're dealing with this with the greatest speed possible. We've received over 500 applications. We have to process them carefully. We have to ensure that when we receive this report, that decisions are made to respective individuals that are appropriate. I think it's quite likely that cash sums will be paid out in accordance with the scheme in advance of some of the other aspects of matters being formally in place, but we should at least then be in a position to advise people what other benefits will accrue to them.
Thank you, Minister.
It's also particularly complicated, I could say, to the Deputy in addressing certain issues where Judge Quirke didn't tease them out fully, where there are individuals affected by this who don't live in this jurisdiction. They live in the UK or outside the UK. We're looking at how best to implement the recommendations in a manner that actually doesn't detrimentally impact on their financial circumstances in the country in which they're resident by depriving them of benefits to which they would otherwise be entitled. That's a particular difficulty. Final point, in fairness to Deputies Daly and Wallace, I regard it as a particular disappointment that the religious congregations have not agreed to contribute to this fund. Both myself and Minister Lynch made very clear our views and the view of the government in this regard. There isn't a legal mechanism to compel them to make such contribution, which is why I said, both in my correspondence to them and in reply to today's question, that it was my and the government's view they have a moral obligation to do so. I am conscious that the congregations presently care for over 100 women who were in the laundries. I'm also conscious and appreciate the full assistance and cooperation we're getting from them in checking records and authenticating and verifying lengths of time that individuals spent in laundries. But I think many people throughout the country do find it surprising and that the congregations haven't contributed in an appropriate manner to the fund. And in final, so Deputy O'Field doesn't accuse me of avoiding any question, there will be the necessary funding to meet this scheme will be provided by government. The amounts, that's a matter that has been discussed at government level and between myself and Minister Howland, but it obviously can't come out of the original Department of Justice estimates. So we're dealing with that in a matter that's financially appropriate, but I can assure the Deputy the payments will be made as soon as we're in a position to finalise matters following on from the report that I've expected to receive at the end of the week.
Question time, and now we go on.